Beneath the sun-drenched streets of Santa Ana, California, a story began to take shape in the mid-1960s, one not told on postcards or travel guides. This was a story forged in the alleys and parks, in whispered codes and territorial lines, by a group that would soon become among the most feared and influential gangs in Orange County. The F Troop Ray 13, better known simply as F Troop. Their name might sound harmless, almost laughable to the uninitiated. Borrowed from a slapstick 1960s TV comedy about a bumbling U.S. cavalry unit, F Troop didn't scream criminal underworld, but for the young men hanging out near Friendly Center on Cypress Street, the nickname given to them by amused neighbors stuck. It started as a joke, a playful jab at a group of aimless teens congregating in a corner of the Orange Barrio Cypress, OVC neighborhood. But it wouldn't stay lighthearted for long. What began as a street moniker quickly evolved into something far more serious, deadly, even. From those Cypress Street corners, F Troop's reputation began to spread, moving like wildfire through the OVC community and eventually rooting itself deep into the heart of Santa Ana. With family ties linking neighborhoods, the gang's identity migrated and multiplied. By the late 1960s, they had planted roots near First and Ray Streets in Santa Ana, a location that would become ground zero for decades of expansion, bloodshed, and underground control. This was no ordinary neighborhood crew. F Troop was growing into a behemoth, among the oldest and largest gangs Orange County had ever seen. Their rise was fueled by grit, street loyalty, and an evolving structure that mirrored a militarized unit more than a ragtag group of delinquents. Over time, the gang fragmented into numerous subcliques, each with its own identity and sphere of influence. Yet no matter how many branches sprouted from the trunk, they remained tied to the same root, F Troop. During the height of their activity in the 1980s and 1990s, two cliques stood out for their relentless presence on the streets: Salvador Park Clique and Barrio Aria Clique. These subgroups patrolled their respective corners with precision and pride, staking claims with graffiti, intimidation, and all-out territorial warfare. Other factions proved less enduring. The West Clique, once active, faded into silence. Others chose independence or fractured into new allegiances. South Side, East Side, Brook Street, Highland Street, West Myrtle, 7th Street, and Orange Barrio Cypress all peeled away from the F Troop identity over time. Some, like Bishop Street, hovered in a gray area, declaring allegiance to F Troop while never being fully embraced by its hardened veterans. These divisions didn't weaken the gang's core. If anything, they demonstrated F Troop's gravitational pull and a volatile ecosystem of gang dynamics in Southern California. But what truly solidified F Troop's standing went beyond numbers or turf. It was their unwavering connection to a darker, deeper force in California's criminal underbelly. The Mexican Mafia, known on the streets and in the prisons simply as La Im. F Troop's allegiance to La Im transcended symbolism. It was operational. They served as ground soldiers and tax collectors, enforcers and executioners. The gang's evolution from a local clique to a significant node in the Mexican Mafia's network was orchestrated by a single man who came to embody the dark soul of Orange County's underworld, Peter Ojeda. To the outside world, Ojeda might have appeared as just another former gang member with a lengthy rap sheet. But within the prison walls and on the streets of Santa Ana, he was the big homie, El Señor, a man whose word could stop drive-bys or start wars. His journey began in the 1960s as a foot soldier in F Troop, but his sharp mind, cold resolve, and brutal authority propelled him into the upper ranks of La Im. By the early 1990s, Peter Ojeda had crowned himself the undisputed godfather of the Mexican Mafia's Orange County faction. The defining moment of his reign came in January 1982. On a cool winter day at El Salvador Park, Ojeda delivered a pivotal message to hundreds of gangsters gathered in the shadows. This initial declaration would evolve into a series of meetings throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s, culminating in the legendary 1992 summit, where representatives from over 50 Hispanic gangs throughout the region convened. These gatherings established a new order. Drive-by shootings, long a staple of gang warfare, were banned. The new weapons were control, taxation, and organizational discipline. Ojeda's vision was terrifyingly efficient. He sought to move the Mexican Mafia from behind the prison walls and embed its influence directly into the streets. No more chaotic violence without consequence. Now, every gang would pay taxes, extortion fees, for the privilege of operating in the territory. Disobedience would be met with brutal enforcement. Through these strategic meetings, Peter Ojeda transformed La-Im from a prison gang into a street empire, with Santa Ana as a primary nerve center. His criminal resume was as extensive as it was violent. In 1983, he was charged as a felon in possession of a firearm. After a brief period of freedom, he was paroled in 2000, only to land back behind bars in 2005, this time with a 14-year federal sentence for racketeering. The walls couldn't contain his influence. Even from inside a cell, Ojeda continued to orchestrate operations, direct loyalties, and collect tributes. In 2011, his name once again headlined a federal indictment, his grip on the streets proving too strong to ignore. By 2016, at the age of 74, he was handed another 15-year sentence, effectively sealing the fate of Southern California's most ruthless gang architects. On June 7, 2020, Peter Ojeda died, but his legacy, twisted, feared, and tragically powerful, lived on. Ojeda's fall didn't mark the end. If anything, it triggered a deeper probe by law enforcement into the machine he'd helped build. In July 2011, Operation Black Flag was launched, among the largest crackdowns on Mexican Mafia activity in Orange County history. The scale was staggering: 99 arrests. Of 57 federal defendants, 26 were apprehended in the sweep. And at the center of this spiderweb of indictments, F Troop, still operating, still pulling strings, still feeding the beast that Ojeda helped unleash. The operation revealed just how entrenched the criminal enterprise had become. F Troop operated alongside allied gangs: Delhi High, Highland Street, East Side Santana, Little Hood, Orange Barrio Cypress, Malay Townsmen, and Forming Chaos FK, all functioning as extensions of a single criminal empire. Each gang had its own name, its own rules, but they all served a singular purpose: maintain control, collect taxes, enforce silence. This transcended gang culture. It was organized crime, an empire disguised as scattered neighborhoods, a ruthless machine hidden in plain sight. And this is just the beginning of a legacy that plunges even deeper into the consequences, the blood feuds, the betrayals, and the war that law enforcement has waged ever since. F Troop emerged not to entertain, like the TV show it was named after. It was born to rule, and it did with unrelenting force. The prison walls were thick, the iron bars unyielding, but power knows no cage. Even as Peter Ojeda sat confined, stripped of his physical freedom, his grip over the streets of Santa Ana remained unerringly intact. But within the empire he helped build, the storm was gathering. The threat to his rule didn't come from outside forces. It came from a man within. A younger, ambitious figure with a vision of his own. His name, Armando Moreno. Born in 1971 and inducted into the Mexican Mafia in 2007, Moreno didn't take long to rise through the ranks. He operated beyond the role of soldier. He was a businessman. Fluent in the languages of identity theft, narcotics, and digital fraud, he brought with him a modern edge that many in La-Im had never seen. Connections ran through him like live wires: drug pipelines, street-level operations, dirty cash. He was fast, ruthless, and above all, profitable. In the criminal world, money often speaks louder than seniority. But ambition in the Mexican Mafia comes with a price. By 2009, Moreno was no longer content to work under Ojeda's shadow. He wanted the whole kingdom: Ojeda's territories, his networks, his influence. What began as quiet maneuvering soon became an all-out challenge to the throne. And it would spark among the bloodiest internal power struggles in La-Im's history. That July, In California's notorious Chino prison, Moreno made his move. He ordered Latino inmates under his sway to launch a racially driven assault against black inmates. The chaos raged for 2 days. 200 prisoners were injured. The cost to the state? A staggering $52 million in damage. But for Moreno, it was a signal, a loud, violent declaration that he was beyond posturing. He was ready for war. A month later, in August 2009, the war turned personal. Moreno released what would become infamous inside gang circles, the hard candy hit list. This transcended another series of orders. It was a death warrant targeting known loyalists of Ojeda. In issuing it, Moreno effectively split the Mexican Mafia in two. What followed was nearly 2 years of bloodshed, betrayals, and deep fractures in the Latino street gang world across Southern California. Despite Moreno's aggressive push, Ojeda, still orchestrating from a prison cell, refused to yield. The old lion held his ground, using every ounce of influence he had left. Law enforcement would eventually sweep them both up in sweeping racketeering indictments. But neither man would escape the war unchanged. The internal feud laid bare the fragile, combustible nature of organized crime. Alliances can dissolve overnight, and power is always up for grabs. Yet internal warfare extended beyond leaders vying for titles. Sometimes the fall came quietly, through whispers and betrayal. Few understood this better than Art Romo. Romo was no street thug. He was a strategist with connections that stretched from Santa Ana to the depths of Mexico and Colombia. As a member of F Troop, Romo had positioned himself as a vital link between local gangs and major cartel operations. His t-shirt printing company, Any Exquisite Designs, run alongside Gumercindo Gomer Rios, served as more than just a business. It was a front, a clean facade masking the reality of cocaine deals and cartel cash. The names Romo associated with, Logan, Deli, Alii Boys, represented more than friends. They were networks. And through them, Romo moved weight and influence. In the wake of the El Salvador Park Summits, Romo helped form what was known as the United Gang Council, a supposed unifying body to implement La Eames rules across Orange County's gang landscape. But as arrests climbed and the DEA closed in, the council began to crumble. In March 1998, Romo's operation finally collapsed. A combined DEA and Orange County task force made their move, seizing more than 260 kilograms of cocaine. Romo was arrested alongside Fernando Mendez and David Ramirez. His defense team included the high-powered attorney Glenn Kajima, but even legal firepower couldn't save him for what came next. Not from the law, but from within. The betrayal was swift. Romo's co-defendants were instructed to eliminate him. His previous ties to a black gang had become a liability in the eyes of lying purists. Mexican Mafia veteran Roland Berry publicly questioned Romo's loyalty. In that world, questioning someone's authority was a death sentence in disguise. His fall from grace wasn't explosive. It was surgical, silent, and absolute. Another reminder that in the world of organized crime, loyalty is often conditional, and past sins are never truly buried. However, not every F-Troop story ends in violence or prison. Some take unexpected turns, like that of Jacob Christopher Ortiz, known worldwide as Tito Ortiz. The UFC Hall of Famer wasn't always a champion. Born in 1975 in Santa Ana, Tito's early life was soaked in dysfunction. His parents were heroin addicts. By age 5, he was already experimenting with alcohol and cigarettes. By age 9, he was initiated into F-Troop the only way the gang knew, through fists, kicks, and beatings. As a child soldier in Santa Ana's gang trenches, Ortiz was no stranger to robberies, fights, or a juvenile hall. But everything changed the day he watched a close friend die in a drive-by shooting. The trauma was immediate and permanent. His mother, desperate to save what was left of her son, moved the family to Huntington Beach. The shift transcended geography. It was existential. Tito discovered wrestling, and for the first time, discipline. Through coach Paul Herrera, he channeled his rage into competition. By 19, he was a junior college state champion. By 22, he debuted in the UFC. The boy who once stole cars in Santa Ana was now battering legends in the octagon. Wrestling didn't just give Tito Ortiz a career. It gave him a second chance, something few gang members ever receive. His story stands as a rare ray of light in a narrative so often consumed by shadow. But make no mistake, the machine that shaped Ortiz is still alive, still breathing, still adapting. Despite decades of arrests, surveillance, and infiltration, F-Troop endures. Law enforcement agencies have thrown everything they have at the gang. Task forces, federal indictments, long-term surveillance. The results? Temporary disruptions. At best, pauses in the rhythm of a much deeper problem. Because the problem extends beyond the gang. It's the soil that feeds it. In places like Santa Ana, where poverty clings to families for generations, where schools are underfunded and after-school programs are scarce, gangs offer what society withholds: protection, power, identity. When a kid has nowhere to go after school, no father at home, and no guidance, the gang becomes the family. Outreach organizations are trying to fill that void. They work side by side with law enforcement, offering mentorship, intervention, and hope. But change is slow, and the machine is fast. F-Troop's legacy extends beyond criminal history. It's a blueprint, a case study in how street-level chaos can become institutional power. They spawned dozens of independent offshoots, spread their ideology across cities, and embedded themselves so deeply in the Mexican Mafia's infrastructure that separating them now would be like trying to pull roots from concrete. Even now, long after Ojeda's death, F-Troop remains. The colors may fade, the faces may change, but the presence lingers. Graffiti returns after each paint over. Territory is still marked. Tax collection still happens. And most tragically, new recruits, young, aimless, and angry, continue to take the same blood-stained oath. But the story doesn't have to end in handcuffs or gravestones. Tito Ortiz proved that transformation is possible. Others will too, if given the chance, if reached in time. Intervention, mentorship, education, these aren't soft solutions. They're strategic. They're the only way to weaken a system that has thrived on neglect and silence. And as we close the book on F-Troop's rise, wars, betrayals, and survival, we're left with a haunting question. How many more stories like this will unfold before we finally address the roots? This is the kind of story we bring you on Inside the Secret World of Mafia Titans. Real, raw, and brutally honest account from the shadows of organized crime. If this story moved you, shocked you, or opened your eyes, subscribe, like, and follow our journey into the darkest corners of criminal empires. Because there's always more hidden behind the silence, and we're here to reveal it.